The third race, your Antrian cloister, began birthing about 75,000 years ago. The Lemanian root race, 73,000 years ago. The Lemanians of the third seeding were called the Lemurians, and they were seated on a landmass that existed in the area now occupied by parts of the Pacific Ocean, and also within the region of the Andes Mountains. The Branua cloister of the fourth race entered about 72,000 years ago in lands that existed in the area now occupied by parts of the Atlantic Ocean, and into the territories that became known as Egypt, followed by the root race, Atlanteans 70,000 years ago. The Atlanteans of the third seeding became the Atlanteans. The fifth race, Hibiru cloister, entered the host matrix of the sixth race, Melchizedek cloister, into various positions throughout the globe, about 68,000 years ago, followed by their root race Aryans, 65,000 years ago. The fifth root race Aryans of the third seeding were called the Aryans. Concentrations of this race were seeded into regions near what is now called the Black Sea, and in the area of what became Carpathian Mountains. The primary concentration of Anu remained in Atlantis, where open lines of commerce with their Syrian Anunnaki forefathers became a standard way of life. The Anunnaki who had joined the Syrian Council through the Treaty of El Anu, and the Syrian Kantarians and Syrian Blue races of Sirius B, became a primary motivating force within Atlantean culture, and the Pleiadian races of Hu-1 assisted in the development of your Antrian and Lemurian culture. These cultures thrived under the influence of the advanced Stellarises. The Anu Melchizedeks organized their cultures around the spiritual and scientific teachings of the Law of One. Members of the Hibiru Clusterin, the hybrid Hebrew peoples, migrated from other regions to both Atlantis and Lemuria, each bringing with them the teachings of the Law of One characteristic of the Melchizedek host matrix. As civilization on Earth prospered, the Syrian Council allowed the Atlantean and Lemurian cultures to receive gifts from the advanced Stellarises, which rapidly developed the technological aspects of society to heights far exceeding present earthly cultures. The Syrian Blues of Sirius B brought large crystalline power generators to Earth as a gift to the Atlantean and Lemurian cultures. They taught their Antrians, Lemurians, Anu, and Atlanteans how to draw energy directly from the D2 Earth core and stir this energy within the crystal generators. Permission was granted by the Elohim and Ra Confederacy to allow power to be drawn from the blue flame of Amenti through the passageway of the Ark of the Covenant. The power of the blue flame allowed Atlantean civilization to access multidimensional frequency, through which the morphogenetic fields of Earth's matter particles could be directly affected. Earth's gravitational pull could be neutralized, objects could be manifested and demanifested, objects could be teleported to desired locations, bioenergetic healing became a way of life, and genetic evolution was accelerated. Using the power of ED technology, the Atlantean and Lemurian cultures thrived. How Lemuria fell. As Atlantean and Lemurian cultures thrived, other stellar cultures watched and waited. Members of the Anunnaki resistance and their Draken and Draco's allies had long planned to overtake Earth territories, waiting until the growing civilizations had reached a height of maturity. Motivated by their own desires to utilize Earth as an evolutionary option, the Anunnaki resistance quietly infiltrated Atlantean culture about 55,000 years ago, currently moving within the ranks of Anunnaki of the Syrian Council. Once re-established on Earth, the Anunnaki resistance interbred with the Anu, and over a period of generations distorted the Anu genetic lines with the Templar seal which had been placed on the Anunnaki resistance following their refusal to accept the Treaty of El Anu. The teachings of the Law of One were slowly distorted as the creed of the Templar solar initiates of Terra, which the Hu to Anunnaki rebellion had helped devise, came to replace the sacred teachings, creating division and social unrest within Atlantean civilization. The Anunnaki Anu began to spread their influence into other cultures, gaining covert control over Egyptian lands and several other smaller cultural centers. About 52,000 years ago, the Templar Anu allowed the Resistance allies, the Dracos, to secretly return to Earth, promising them an earthly home if they would assist in infiltration of the Earth cultures. The Dracos infiltrated the Lemurian continent of Muarivi, creating an extensive network of underground layers within the tunnel systems that ran between Lemuria and Atlantis. Systematically, the aggressive Dracos began terrorizing the Lemurian culture, extending the reign of terror into Atlantis and various other places. Meetings were held by representatives of all the races through which a plan was devised to end the Dracos problem. The humans hoped to use the generator crystals to create small, pinpoint explosions within the underground caverns in order to seal the Dracos within their lairs until the Syrian Council could come and evacuate the Dracos. But the plan backfired, as the Earth grid became energetically overloaded by energy from the generator crystals, and a massive explosion occurred within the lands beneath Muarivi. The explosion destroyed the land mass of Lemurian civilization, and remnants of the Lemurians integrated into Atlantean territories. The explosion caused massive volcanic activity, earthquakes and floods, and though the Atlantean continent did not suffer massive destruction, it took generations for them to rebuild, and for the Earth to rebalance her grid. A small period of ice followed these events, during which most of the races retreated underground, some permanently entering the inner Earth. After the surface environment stabilized, most of the remaining races returned to the surface to rebuild. Atlantis again became a cultural center, but never again reached its previous height of development. Most of the Dracos were evacuated from Earth by their Anunnaki resistance accomplices, and the Templar Anu continued to hold their ground within Atlantean and Egyptian cultures. Following the cataclysm of 52,000 years ago, the Anunnaki of the Syrian Council and several other stellar neighbors returned to Earth, assisting the humans to rebuild. During the explosions beneath the ground, the portal passage to the Ark of the Covenant had been damaged, and the energetic grid beneath the Atlantean continent was unstable. The Elohim, Ra Confederacy, and other guardian groups from Hu-Tu restructured the Ark of the Covenant, moving the portal that connected it to Earth out of Atlantis and into the regions of Egypt, where the Earth grid structure was more stable. The Ceres Egyptian races would now share guardianship and control of the Ark of the Covenant with the Anu Melchizedeks and Hebrew peoples who migrated there following the explosions. The cultural hub of Earth was relocated from Atlantis to Egypt about 51,750 years ago, and Egypt began to thrive.